But if she did that and then the IRS comes knocking is like, hey, by the way, this is what your taxes look like going back 7 years. Where's the money going to come from then? Because that's a debt you can't bankruptcy your way out of. So no, I'm order of prioritying her potential future liability because she still is a 50-year-old woman that has a lot of life to live. And she's going to have to put a roof over her head and food in her mouth and a car to drive. I mean, it doesn't have to be a house with a pool. It doesn't have to be a Range Rover. But even in bankruptcy, an amount of money stays with you to live. And it might be a little less than an opulent lifestyle, but they are also not going to be like, okay, you live in LA, you get $5,000 a month to live top to bottom. That's not what's going to happen even in a bankruptcy. So really? If I'm her lawyers, I'm not letting her do any of that. I am waiting to see exactly how big the crater is and then making strategy from there.
So how does it work at a bankruptcy when it's all done? Do they say, like, how much do they give you? Do they say you might never work again? Here's the rest for the rest of your life? Or
no, it depends. So first of all, I'm not a bankruptcy expert, but in the personal bankruptcy, not every single cent that you have goes to paying things back. You are also allowed, sometimes it's your personal home. They're not going to make you sell it in the bankruptcy to pay off debts because you still need somewhere to live. The bankruptcy will not leave you at completely zero. And that is all accounted for within the bankruptcy code of how much you get and then some discretion of the judge, but it's not going to be, it should be a reasonable living amount. And in LA, a reasonable living amount like New York is not a reasonable living amount elsewhere. So it was by way of example, even if she was going through the personal bankruptcy, which she's not, because it's just Tom, she would still be allowed to kind of live her life and keep some of this money. So, or keep some of the assets and what have you to live on. That's the big fight, is what in her closet is going to go back to the personal bankruptcy to pay things off. Because what if it was bought with marital money? And that's part of the fight going on over there too. So she's got fights on multiple fronts. The most public one just happens to be with Ron Richards.
So when all of this is over, let's put the victims aside for a minute, and like it's all over, the taxes and everything, like, how bad will she be if she's still on this show making a pretty big paycheck? Again, I'm just guessing what it is.
I mean, she's well, and Andy kind of gave us a hint too, because she was like, where am I going to go? And he looks at her and is like, I know, I mean, of course, editing, so we don't know exactly what flowed, but Andy's like, I know how much you make. Like, don't tell me you can't go anywhere. I know what you make.
Right. It's like,
he indicated you could
5, 6. I mean, it gets up there after a lot of seasons.
He definitely indicated you have the money to go. And I'm sure she got paid for Broadway. I'm sure she got paid well for her books. I'm sure if she needed another $1 million book advance to tell her story, she could get it easily. I mean, everybody would want to read that. People want to know her side. She hasn't shared all of it. And I wonder if part of that's keeping a card up her sleeve to sell this later as a special. Teresa Giudice got a special about prison. Why not Erika? Right? So,
and Teresa got a book. Teresa wrote a book,
and Teresa got a book
out. So, yeah,
there's lots of story to come, I think, where she could monetize that. But if she has paid off the bankruptcy, once it's done, it's done. You get discharged. You get, I hate that word, but you get removed once the bankruptcy is over. You don't have to pay anything back, or there's a payment plan where you know how much you're paying back. Same with debts to the IRS. Again, I think her lawyers are trying to be cautious. I imagine that Erika doesn't have all of her tax documents. Just from what I've seen in the bankruptcy filings, it seems like all of those types of records were kept at the law firm in horrible disarray. So I don't even think Erika's lawyers can go back and do their own evaluation of her taxes. They've probably been able to get that information now, but they're also looking at potential liability down the road and looking at, I mean, the IRS, once you sign it, it doesn't matter if you knew what was in it or not, you've signed it. So I think her lawyers have bigger fish to fry than the bankruptcy of the law firm, because at the end of the day, she wasn't one of the lawyers.
And that's the thing. I think that's where people have a hard time, because, like, sorry, you're out of your $11 million house or whatever it's down to now. Again, you're still in a 2,000 square foot bungalow, which I know in LA may not be a lot, but it has nice.
It's wallpaper. A lot. I lived in LA. We lived in 910 square feet with a family of 4. I mean,
so I get it. That's where it's like, okay, you're still on the show. Now, you may not be on the show forever, but you'll have social media. People will have a cameo from you. You right, the book. So it's like, I'm sorry, you have to go live in a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere. Maybe this 2000 is too big. Maybe it'll just be an apartment, but you'll be alive.
Yep.
You'll drive some car. It's not like destitute, streetless, homeless.
I think she will bounce back. And I think I wonder how much, and this is just me being curious, but I wonder how much knowing she was going to be filming played into where she chose to live. And I wonder how much of this is putting up a strong front, but I think it would have probably played better if she had downsized even more. I don't think she was willing to do that, but it would have, I think it would have played better to appease the court of public opinion. But I also don't think Erika gives a fuck about the court of public opinion. And I think she told everybody that when she came onto the show wearing blinged out necklaces that said, see you next Tuesday. And she was like, this is who I am. And I'm not straying from that. And you all motherfuckers are going to find out one day. And those of you that were against me are on my hit list and I'll never speak to you again.
Kind of. I mean, that's just why I don't feel that. I mean, she's going to be fine. Sorry.
She's going to be better off than Tom's clients will be. 100%.
Well, that was my next thing. Like, is it possible when all this is over? Like, are the victims ultimately going to get every penny? No. They're just, this is what it is now. Like,
Not everyone is going to get paid.
I saw something that like one of their houses was just sold for like 1.2 and like one of the victims got a little bit of it. But I mean, that's how it's going to play out. There's going to be plenty of, like, I mean, are they going to try to give everybody a little something or no? It is how it is.
No, so in bankruptcy, there's an order. And I went over this on my channel. There's an order of priority. The thing that's unfortunate for most of Tom's clients is by the time they realized that they had gotten, swindled by their attorney, they didn't have another attorney that was willing to go forward and attach all of the property the way the Ruy Gomez family did. And the Ruy Gomez family, I mean, we saw it in The Hustler and the Housewife when they spoke and when Kimberly Archie spoke about how difficult it was to find another attorney willing to take on Tom Girardi. Like, that was the first hurdle. We had to find another lawyer to take this on. Then we had to go through the court process, which is expensive. And we've already not gotten paid by our lawyer to go through to get a judgment against him. Then once we got the judgment against him, he still didn't pay. Then you have to go the next step to find where all his personal property is and do the record searches and pay your attorney to do that. Then you have to go perfect liens on all of it so that if he ever sells it, you get that money back. Most of his clients didn't do that, which puts them towards the bottom of the order of priority in bankruptcy. Because you know who did do that? Other than the Ruy Gomez, all the legal lenders, the professional companies that know that that's what they need to do. So the people who really get screwed are the clients that just didn't know. And it's heartbreaking. At least the clients whose cases haven't settled yet are now with other lawyers who should pay them. And some of those cases, as they settle, the legal fees Girardi Keese is entitled with will continue to go back into the bankruptcy estate and be portioned out. But a lot of it's going to go to the legal lenders.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's the really unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when people are like, the laws in America aren't fair, and then they're like, how is this happening? I'm like, exhibit A, like the bankruptcy has rules. And if you don't know, I don't know how any of his clients would have known, oh, my lawyer didn't pay me. If he ends up in bankruptcy, I need to perfect liens. I think the reason that the Ruy Gomez family knew that is, one, Kimberly Archie is a dogged investigator and is going to find that. But two, they had a lawyer that is like, look, he's already not paying this judgment. We have got to lock this down. It's $11 million that we're talking about here. And we're going to try to get it back.
Right. And someone like you or me, the minute a dollar wasn't there, I would have been like, okay, I'm out the door here. I'm going to a plan B. I'm not playing around here.
I think he used his charm. And I think this is again, Emily's speculation, but I've looked at some of the older cases from clients who sued him for malpractice for not getting paid. A lot of those claims were dismissed in court because they came after the statute of limitations, which is the time period in which you have to bring a cause of action. I think Tom used the charming, oh, we'll take care of it. Oh, it's invested here. Oh, it's there. Oh, I've got you. Oh, it's earning returns. This is, again, speculation based on everything that I've seen, and strung them along to the point where they finally said enough is enough and went to court. And the judge was like, oh, I'm sorry. It's too late under the law. I think And that's why I think a lot of this was more intentional on his part, because it seemed that he was stringing people along. And when that didn't work, started threatening them. And we heard that in voicemails played in The Hustler and the Housewife. And we even heard that in SoundCloud recordings attached to the Edelson PC complaint, where he's like, I was in the hospital. You know, I'm a nice guy. Just be nice to me. It's so fucking manipulative.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know it's
I have more rage for Tom Girardi than I have for Erika. I don't like her behavior on social, but you know what? She's an adult. She gets to choose how she acts. This is what she's choosing to do. I have a lot of rage for what Tom Girardi did, not just to the profession, but to his clients who he owed a duty. People trusted him with everything.
Right. I mean, it's so egregious. I mean, like, that's where it is. Like, you can't really compare this to like the Giudices. Like, I mean, it's just this, there's people dead, and yet they're turning to you as their one savior, which won't even remotely make their lives even
Never makes it
remotely whole. Like, they're scarred for life because they lost a daughter, a brother, a sister, a mother. And yet, you know, the money is just at least justification. And yet they're screwed again. Like, it's so bad.